Hello, Chills seniors. This is a very exciting time, and I am so happy to be able to share it with you as your school counselor. We are going to go through the parent uh, PowerPoint that Mr. Marks is going to share with parents coming up this week. And there's just a couple things that I want to go over to help you feel better about your whole post-secondary planning / college application process. So we'll just begin. Here is a cute little cartoon. Awesome. Who doesn't love the peanuts? What we're going to go through is basically, I'm going to tell you about our staff here in the counseling office, and then we're going to go through some resources, and then really the specifics of the red folder. So in our counseling department, we have Miss Dowd, who is our administrative assistant, who pretty much answers all of my questions as well as yours. Along with her is Ms. Hoppin, who is really helping us out with rolling out Naviance, and also is able to help with a lot of different questions. Obviously, Ms. Carlson is our registrar, and she is going to be putting out information about SATs, scholarships, fee waivers, transcripts, all of those awesome questions that you might have about those things, you can send to her. Obviously, then there's Mr. Lammert, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Marks, and then me, your favorite school counselor. So where should you be? In your red folder, and you should definitely take some time to go through that, you should look and see at the timeline. There is a timeline in there about what you should be looking at, what you should be doing. This is a crazy time to make decisions about college because there's so many unknowns. I'm sure that you either have siblings or friends who have gone on to college or who might be staying at home and doing online school. There's going to be a lot of big decisions on top of just trying to decide about school. I am here to help you with all of that and to do it with grace and with humility and to just embrace this time as it is. We are hoping that you can attend some virtual college visits. Most of that stuff is going to be on Schoology. So pretty much we're going to get into the red folder. I encourage you to email me, Zoom with me, come in for a visit if you have any questions whatsoever. This is going to be an open door kind of thing, even though it's not really an open door kind of thing. You will have to make an appointment, but reach out to me via email. Ask me to Zoom. I'm there for you. And basically, what we do is we then kind of get you set up and ready to go. You apply. We send in our info on our end, and then we kind of just wait. We have all sorts of resources on 2- and 4-year programs. Gap years might be something that people want to consider more because of the uncertainty of next fall. We've got our Naviance, which we'll go into a little bit later, as well as scholarship and financial aid information, resume writing, interview, personality profiles, interest inventories. We have all sorts of college books, and we have all sorts of different tools that you can use for researching colleges online. So the nitty-gritty, the red folder. So no matter what, I want to sit down with each and every one of you and have a senior interview so that I can write a recommendation for you. Whether you're going on to the military, whether you're going into the workforce, going on to a 4- or 2-year college, or just going for a gap year, I want to be able to have a letter for you that you can take with you or leave on file here for whatever ends up happening in the next year or two. We recommend that you get recommendations from 2 teachers. It might be your homeroom teacher that you've had for 4 years. It might be your math teacher, especially if you're going into an engineering or a math program. It could also be someone within the community, as well as, maybe a employer or a pastor or a next door neighbor. We do need 2 teacher recommendations, but then you can also add on to that. In the red folder, there are a bunch of different forms, and basically this side is all the stuff that you need to have. There is a brag sheet, there's a parent brag sheet, there is a like a resume. Those are things that help me write your recommendation and really kind of get into who you are as a person. I'm going to need all of those things preferably before the senior interview, before we sit down and have a senior interview. I need to have 10 days from the time that we sit down and have our interview to when your college deadline is. There is information on deadlines and when you should be making an appointment. It takes me a while to write 60 plus recommendations. And so I need to have 10 days at least to get your stuff together. You can find most of the forms that need to be turned in on the Naviance page, and I can show you what that Naviance page looks like. On the Naviance page, under My Planner, there you can print off those forms. Naviance is also just a really nice platform to research colleges. There's a great college search on there. We have extra copies of senior information, the red folder pages in the office. It's also located on senior information on the CHRHS website. All of this is confidential. All of it is only really used by me in order to write your recommendation. And we can discuss any of those questions if you have them when we have that interview. So as I said, there's a left side and a right side to the red folder. The left side is that college calendar checklist where you kind of should be in terms of your college application process. The red folder deadlines, recommendation info, that's just what teachers to ask and when to ask them. Common App info, responsibilities, SAT and ACT deadlines, although that might change, so stay tuned. There's other context for post-secondary plans, so other resources that you can use if you aren't thinking of going on to a 2-year or 4-year program. And then there should be an unofficial transcript of yours so that you can look at things like what classes you've completed, your GPA, and then your total count of credits. The total count of credits is going to be from last year, from junior year. If you notice any discrepancies on your transcript, please let me know immediately because I would love to get that fixed ASAP. On the right side, these are all of the sheets that I need for my senior interview. So your senior feedback forms, your brag sheet, your parent brag sheet, and then the transcript request form. The transcript request form, say that a couple times fast, is really our paper copy to make sure that we know that we've sent everything that we need to send to the colleges that you've applied to. It's pretty straightforward. So there are very hard and fast deadlines in the college world. You need to have, if the deadline for your application is October 15th, that is the deadline. A lot of times, early action, early decision, those are going to be October, November deadlines, and then it gets, regular decision is pushed back before that, after that. Received by versus submitted by. So they need to receive your information by October 1st if that is the deadline. That means that you might have to submit your materials 2 weeks beforehand, 5 days beforehand. You need to submit it before the deadline. Deadlines pertain to your application, not necessarily to the counseling department's needs. We will do our best to get things in by the deadline, but sometimes we don't, especially if you don't give us 10 days of prior notice. Early decision. Most schools have 2 dates for early decision. They have early decision 1, early decision 2. Early decision is binding. That means that if you get into that school, you are going to attend. Early action is again, 2 different dates usually, but those just give you an answer before and is non-binding. So you can do as many early action schools as you want, and hopefully you will hear back sooner than later, versus early decision where you only do one early decision school. And that is the school that you're going to commit to going to if you get in. And then there's regular admit. There's a couple dates for regular admit. A lot of them is January 1st, December 15th, December 1st. And then there's also schools that have a rolling application, a rolling deadline. And that just means that they'll accept until they fill up their school. The common application, if you have a chance to start that, if you chip away at that a little bit over the next couple weeks, it's going to be a lot less stressful than sitting down and doing the entire thing at once. There's lots of little bits of information. A lot of it you can find on your transcript. Some of it you might have to email me, and that's going to be class size and possibly weighted versus unweighted, where weighted GPAs. And there's sometimes different schools have different supplemental questions. So you might have the essay done, but once you get to the end of the application, they might ask you for either another small essay or a couple short answer questions. Senior feedback forms, this just gives us a little insight, more insight as to, who you are as a person and what your goals are and your strengths as well as weaknesses. Student brag sheet, this is where you kind of tell us what's awesome about you and maybe where your faults might be. Same with the parent brag sheet. I love reading these. Every year, these are like sometimes it just brings tears to my eyes because your parents are so proud of you. And they have really good insight as to the person who you are because they've obviously probably have known you the longest. Teacher recommendations, as I said, some schools will ask for none, some will ask for 4, most ask for 2. So we want you to have at least 2 teacher recommendations. Any extra recommendations sometimes doesn't hurt, but sometimes schools don't even read it. So it's really important to pay attention to what the school wants in terms of recommendation letters. Just a note to your teacher or school counselor for writing you a recommendation goes a long way in making us feel great about ourselves. Just saying. So our responsibility, so the school's responsibility for your application is sending your official transcript and any quarter 1 grades. So sometimes, especially if you're applying early decision or early action, your school will ask you for quarter 1 grades. No big deal. Just send me an email. I'll send it along. We send out a school profile also in your red folder. We will send a counselor letter of recommendation. And then we kind of wait until the final transcript. Final transcripts don't come out until a week after, usually, graduation. You'll get all sorts of emails saying, like, we need your final transcript. And that's fine, but we haven't even ended school yet, so we don't have that. If you are using the Common App, then we will be sending all those documents, those above documents, through the Common App. Here's what your responsibility is for applying to college. Review the calendar, make up an organizational system, make a notebook, know where you're at with your process. Schedule meetings with your counselor as needed. Review all the materials and complete the red folder paperwork and give me 10 days before your deadline to interview you and write your recommendation. Complete the application and supplements by the deadline. And then also it is your responsibility, if you took SATs or SATs, to request from the College Board that they send your scores to the school. We have the unofficial scores, but most schools have to have them from the College Board. Also, mind you, a lot of schools have also said, because of the whole situation, that SAT scores are optional. Just keep that in mind. So the transcript request form This is, like I said, this is just a way that we keep track of where you're going to school, where you've applied, and what we've done. So as you can see, common application, which university it is, do we have to actually physically mail it, and what is the application deadline? We appreciate your signature, but we also appreciate your parents' signature. We can go over that later. Another responsibility that students have is to request from teachers their letters of recommendation. Some teachers are going to have you fill out similar to the brag sheet, just a little bit more about you so that they can sit down and write a very comprehensive letter. If you have to mail anything, we expect you to provide the envelope and the stamp for us to mail the letter to the college. Obviously, you have to write a personal essay as well as answer any of the supplemental questions yourself. Don't have your sister do it. Don't have your parent do it. That is all you. Some schools require an interview. That's probably going to be via Zoom, but some schools don't. Submit scholarship applications by the deadlines. We'll get into that in just a little bit because most of our local scholarships aren't even due until end of April, beginning of May. And then all of the fees that you need to submit in terms of applications. Some applications are free. Some college applications are $65. Some are even more. So those are your responsibilities. Just know that there are fee waivers available if you do have free and reduced lunch. So parent responsibilities, this is what you can expect your parents to be responsible for. To encourage and support you, to ask me questions if they need, and to maybe take you to some college campuses or watch some of the virtual tours online. They can help you. There is a parent section of the Common App where they ask your parents' background. Financial aid, that's going to be the huge piece. October 1st is when the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, opens up. And a lot of that is not only your parents' tax information, but also yours if you have been working a summer job or a job during school year. So that is going to determine, that FAFSA is going to determine your financial aid package from the school. Parents are very, very helpful with that because they normally have to submit their taxes every year. They can help you with some scholarship research. Sometimes parents have their workplace might have a scholarship that you would be eligible for. They might also know other places where their friends work that might have scholarships. And also to celebrate your success, but also support you through any sort of disappointments that you might have. In terms of maybe you don't get into that school that you really, really wanted to, or maybe that school is going remote and you don't want to be remote, et cetera, et cetera. So financial aid, how will you pay for college? As I said, the FAFSA is opened up on October 1st, 2020. We will be having some sort of FAFSA help at some point. Usually at Midcoast every year, they have a night where one of the FAME representatives, FAME is the Finance Authority of Maine, where the FAME staff members will help parents fill out the FAFSA. A great website, by the way, for scholarships as well as anything financial aid-wise that you need to ask. There's a financial aid toolkit, not just kind of a grid where you can go through and kind of see what you can afford versus what you can't, and maybe where you might need to take out a loan, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure that we'll be having more information about financial aid nights, et cetera. So national scholarships. National scholarships usually have an earlier deadline, so right about now you could be starting to look for national scholarships. These are bigger, usually bigger money, usually more competitive, and usually a lot more work that goes into them, but worth looking into. College and university scholarships, these are usually called merit scholarships, and so depending on your grades throughout high school, schools will say, oh, you have a 3.5, we will award you the Hannah Billington really great, appreciate you scholarship for being great. Those things will be reflected in your financial aid package from the school. And then we get to state or county scholarships, examples being the Vietnam veterans, the Senator George Mitchell, as well as Rotary, et cetera, et cetera. These scholarships are due. Those applications are due. We'll go into that. That's called the white folder night. We'll get into that later. That doesn't happen until like April, May, so we won't worry about that. Chill out. And then the same with local scholarships. Same time frame. We'll go over white folder stuff later. So there's a ton of information here. You're probably like, oh my gosh, Billington, A, this is the first time you've ever recorded anything for broadcast. B, you talk really fast. C, I don't even have my red folder. What the heck? So if any of those things apply to you and you really have a question, again, just come and see me, email me, or ask me to Zoom. And I am happy to talk to you. I'm happy to sit down with you and go through everything. This is before your final senior interview. And so that's all I have to say. Do your homework. Don't get arrested. Don't fail a class. Those things are bad. Let's say, ask for help whenever you need it. And I cannot wait to see you, whether it is via Zoom, via in person, or on the telephone. I'm just really excited for all of you, and I want to help you through this process, making it stress-free. Okay, see you later.